Hey everybody. I'm Bobby Constantino, and this is the first time I've ever done this. So if this is working, great. I have no idea how to tell if it is. Um, Basically, everything I've ever wanted to say in one of these things has been already beautifully and ably said by Monica Cannon, who is one of the most courageous, indefatigable, admirable people that I know. She's a true Wonder Woman, and the work that she does in Boston is amazing. And so every time I've wanted to do one of these Facebook Live things, I've just been on her feed, and she's already said everything I could ever want to say. So if you haven't all followed Monica yet, I tagged her on this post. Her name's Monica Cannon. She represents violence in Boston. I would highly recommend that you follow Monica, because as I said, and some people are joining now, so as I was saying, Monica Cannon is someone that's always saying the things that I've always wanted to say on these posts. So the reason why I'm posting now is because Monica is actually on vacation, getting some much needed rest and relaxation, and good for her. And so I wanted to do this as a sort of salute to her, as a way to say, hey, you can take a break, take a day off, and we'll carry the water for you. We'll pick up the slack, and you can enjoy yourself, and we'll keep the pressure up on the powers that be. So this past Monday was opening day for the Red Sox, and like any displaced Red Sox fan, on opening day, I live in New York City, and so I went into the city, deep into Yankee country, put on my Sox cap, rocked it proudly, and I went and watched the game with some friends in Manhattan. And as we rolled into the game, we saw Gronkowski and Brady, and everyone was on the field, and Gronk runs up to Brady, steals his jersey, and they started having a little rollick around on the sod. And as I'm watching this and like taking in the moment, it was really cool. Like the Patriots won the Super Bowl, and the Red Sox Cy Young winner's gonna kick off the series, and Tom Brady's gonna throw out the first pitch. And as I see all of this happening, like the joy of this moment, I catch out of the corner of my eye Marty Walsh, who's the mayor of Boston, standing there with these guys having a grand old time. And it just sort of, for me, brought all of like the joy crashing down out of the moment. Like it just kind of went. And the reason why seeing him there at that moment kind of was jarring for me is because across town there was a 6-year-old boy who was in the hospital recovering from a gunshot wound to the back. And while the family is, of course, concerned and freaking out and worried about their baby and whether or not he's going to survive, the media is at that moment dragging the name of this family through the mud, basically, impugning their character, calling them all sorts of, horrible names and slurs and terms that just shouldn't be used for a family who's, has a child who's just been shot and in the hospital. And so a reporter from the Herald basically stalked the family until they got a hold of the mother of the child. And when she spoke to the reporter, she basically said that Mayor Walsh was a liar. And if you look right here at this article, that's what I'm talking about. And as you can see, the paper here is basically trying to impugn the character. And so anyways, I wanted to take this moment and use this post and use this broadcast as a way to stand with the mother of the child who was shot in Boston and say that you're actually right. You're dead right. The mayor is a liar, and for reasons that are far more sinister than you can imagine, and that I'm going to get into today, he's completely failing the city on the issue of gun violence. So to prove that, I'm going to go back to December 2000. And as you can see, there's an article here from the Boston Globe, December 31st, 2014, right after the mayor was elected. And he says right here, I want to get gun violence down to zero. And he's to a reporter from the Boston Globe. basically that he wants to get gun violence down to zero. And so during this broadcast today, I want to talk about how when someone says they want to do something, what do you look at to see if they're telling you the truth? Now, the mayor of Boston and a lot of these progressive cities keep saying that they want to protect communities of color, they want to protect people, but in this particular instance, the mayor said, I want to get gun homicides down to zero when he was elected in 2014. So when someone says, I want to do something, you generally look at their behavior following when they say to see if their actions prove that actually, yes, this is something that I'm going to do. In this case, I want to get gun violence down to zero. So in that case, you would presumably find out what are the things that have worked to get gun violence down to zero, and you would invest in them. And you would find out what things have worked, or not worked, I should say, what things have not worked to get gun violence down to zero, and you would avoid those things, right? That's presumably the logic that you would use if you're the mayor of a city like Boston and you say you want to get gun violence down to zero. So real quick, I'm going to start this now because I think most of the people that are going to join have joined. So welcome, y'all. I'm basically talking about how the mayor of Boston has said that he wants to get gun violence down to zero, which you would think would mean you're going to invest in the things that work and you're not going to invest in the things that don't work. And we're quickly today going to go through those things to see what has happened in the city of Boston. All right. So this is an article from the Boston Phoenix in, as you can see there, the timestamp, August 2005. And it says right here, right here. For years, Boston has been one of the least successful cities in the U.S. at catching and prosecuting murderers, and it's only getting worse. Now, this was in 2005, as you can see here. So maybe this is a fluke, right? 12 years have gone by, and so now the Boston Police Department has corrected this, and they're doing a better job. So now I'm going to fast forward 12 years to another report right here, which was written this February 2017. More than 96% of gunmen involved in non-fatal shootings are never arrested in Boston. So that's basically 12 years of data showing you that investing heavily in police, aggressive law enforcement tactics, minimum mandatories, gang raids, gang sweeps, and so forth hasn't worked, and it doesn't work. Okay? And now I want to talk about what does work in contrast to what doesn't. So I'm going to pivot quickly to a report that by a Harvard academic named Christopher Winship, as you can see here in March 2002. And right here, he writes, for the 29-month period ending in January 98, there were no teenage homicide victims in the city of Boston. That was in 2002, and he's talking about a 29-month where a gang violence intervention model had literally ended gun violence in the city of Boston for 2 years and 5 months. 0 teenagers were killed in that period. Think about that for a second, okay? And then I'm going to fast forward from 2002 to 2000, when another pair of Harvard criminologists, in this report right here, Anthony Braga and David Haro, wrote a report about why and when that very, very successful program that had literally ended gun violence in the city of Boston had been discontinued. And it's on page 8, and it's right here. And as you can see from this right here, and I'm sorry if this is shaky, I'm not very good at this technical stuff. A U.S. Department of Justice sponsored evaluation of Operation Ceasefire reported that the intervention was associated with a 63% decrease in monthly number of Boston youth homicides. Which means that the program that Boston was using in the late 90s was directly related to the end of teen gun homicides in Boston and directly related to a 63% decrease in monthly homicides overall. And the reason why I'm showing you these reports is because this is a smoking gun that shows that there are proven programs that can literally end gun violence and shootings in cities like Boston overnight. 20 years of data show that you can end shootings in these cities overnight if you properly invest in and scale these programs. Okay? So, for a mayor like Marty Walsh, who says, I want to get gun violence down to zero, you would think that the mayor would invest heavily in these programs that have been proven to work and to end gun violence overnight, right? And he would not be investing heavily in the police department, which 20 years of data also show, or at least 12 years of data show, are failing to clear non-fatal shooting cases upwards of 96% of the time, right? One clearly doesn't work. One clearly does work. If you're a mayor who claims that you want to get gun violence down to zero, right, then you're going to invest heavily in the program that does work and not in the one that doesn't, right? Well, let's take a look. So I'm going to pivot now. And again, my technical capabilities here are not excellent. But what I did is I went through the City of Boston budget from 2015, and I basically aggregated all of the salary line items, okay, for people that work in the program called Operation Ceasefire. It's now today called the Street Worker Program in Boston. Okay, I went and aggregated all of their salary line items. And then I went and aggregated all of the salary line items of the police to compare the two to see how the city is making the investment. So right here you have from lines 1 to 27, you have all of the street workers that were included in the Boston city budget payroll in 2015. There's 27 of them, okay? And as you can see from this number right here, their total salary is $1,052,000, 213 and some change, okay? That's how much the city of Boston, in the last year available in Marty Walsh's term, invested in the program that has been proven to end gun violence overnight. Okay? Now I'm going to show you the amount of money that the city of Boston spent on the police department, which the same data shows has not stopped gun violence at all. Okay? So we're going to start here at line 31, and we're going to scroll, and we're going to scroll, and sorry about the glare there. We're going to scroll, we're going to scroll, we're going to scroll, we're going to scroll. As you can see, these are all of the police officers in the city of Boston. All of their salaries. We're going to scroll, we're going to scroll, we're going to scroll, still going all the way down to line 2,484 for a grand total in salary of $318 million and some change. All right, so that's 2,400 and some 2,400 some odd employees, right, that are being funded by the city of Boston that all of the data shows have not worked at all to stop gun violence. They're failing 96% of the time to clear non-fatal shootings. And anyone that knows anything about gun violence will tell you that non-fatal shootings are the best metric to use when you're predicting gun violence because the people that are shot and that survive are more likely to retaliate. So on the most important metric of gun violence prediction, all right, you are failing 96% of the time, and the mayor who claims he wants to get gun violence down to zero is investing $300 million in salary for that department and $1 million in salary for the department that 20 years of data show can actually end gun violence overnight. So when someone in a progressive city like Boston, when someone like Marty Walsh says to you, when they go to a meeting, when they hold a community hearing, when they say to you, I want to get gun violence down to zero, okay? They're lying to you if they are allocating money in this way. When you say that you have priorities that you want to fix, or you have problems that you want to fix, and it's your priority to fix something, then the way that you allocate your funding proves whether or not you're telling the truth, okay? And in this case, you absolutely cannot say that you want to get gun violence down to zero, spend all of the city's money on a department that is not helping the problem at all, that's failing 96% of the time, and spend 1/300th of that amount of money on all of the programs that have been proven to work. So this is my first Facebook Live ever. I hope that you will share it with all of the people in Boston who are going to be voting come November, because whichever candidate is the one that ends up being the mayor of Boston come November, they're going to need to address this, okay? This funding arrangement, this allocation is completely backwards, and this can no longer continue to be the case in the city of Boston. And until this changes, when the mother of that 6-year-old child says Mayor Marty Walsh is a liar, she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right, Mayor Walsh, until this changes. So let's get with it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Monica, I love you. Have a great vacation. Take care, everybody.